I'm Kevin. This is my first video, so forgive me for the lack of quality and the lack of content or the rambling. Maybe I'm not rambling, maybe what I am about to tell you and show you is useful to you. And it's good for my diary. It's good for me to see my progress in the future. As you can see, I have a setup here. This is my work. I work from home. I do miss people. I really do. But it's also important for me to be near my children, and working from home is extremely helpful in that. The challenge, of course, is that there's distractions. So it requires a lot of discipline. It's not for everybody. I think that working from home is one of the more difficult things to do. So I work for a software company. During the daytime, I take care of devices like this, Zebra devices that contain our application for delivery drivers. But I've also decided that I need to do much more in my life than just focus on my job. So one thing that I'm really good at is maintaining a list of the things that I'm working on. I'm always maintaining lists, and I'm also very good at compartmentalizing those lists. So as you can see, I have a little grid here. Some of it seems like it's pretty juvenile sometimes, so forgive me if it comes across as somewhat elementary, but I have a basic system. I maintain notes. As you can see, I've got notes everywhere. I've got a good list of yellow pad notes, yellow paper pad notes, and then I have a grid system that I kind of keep track of. I'm not bound to this system. I can throw it out. It's no problem. The basic theory of it is, if I'm taking notes anywhere, whether they come through email, whether I wrote them down, they have to make it into Remember the Milk. That's what I use as a task management system. So that's actually what these columns are like. This is the paper that I'm tracking in this column, paper, and then everything in my inbox, everything in my follow-ups, because I like having clean paperwork. So this for me is a nightmare. Once I have too many notes, I've got to get them processed, got to get them into the system. That's why I hold myself accountable per day, each day, to process my paperwork. If I've written down notes and I've got things on my mind, and sometimes a pen and a piece of paper are still the best thing you can possibly do. But then it gets too much. It becomes unmanageable. So, to review, paperwork has to make it into Remember the Milk, and that's this column right here, Remember the Milk, RTM. It's an online thing with an app, and you can subscribe to it. My paperwork, my email inboxes, and my follow-ups always have to make it into Remember the Milk. There's always a point that I'm trying to get back to. Nothing in my inboxes, nothing in my follow-ups, nothing written down on pieces of paper. Because from that point on, I can go from Remember the Milk into all my other task management systems. I've got one here for one group, one here for another group, ourselves, another group, and I've even made another column, which is too much, for more paper. It's pretty dumb. Like I said, I'm not married to my decisions when I do this kind of thing. The main process is always that Remember the Milk is my catch-all. It's my net for all my notes, for all the things I think about. If my inbox is clean, my emails are either no longer necessary, or I've taken action right away, or I put them in follow-ups, and the follow-ups better make it through this list. So it's like a filtering system, and sometimes people observe it. It takes me more time to manage all this data, because that's what it comes down to. It becomes data. I have a goal, and that is to maintain a sanity, but also to maintain an overview over not just the things I do for work, the things I do for my personal life. Today, one of the things that ended up happening is that I actually applied at a college to finish out my bachelor's degree in software development with Western Governors University. Prior to that, I had to, of course, have transcripts. Well, guess how I maintained the request to myself to get my transcripts? It was all in Remember the Milk. And I open my browser once in a while, and if I'm waiting on somebody, I take that note in Remember the Milk, RTM. I'll probably just call it RTM from now on. I maintain that note if I've done something, or I complete it, because then I've done it. So one of the things I did was get transcripts from the college I used to attend in Omaha, Nebraska. That's where I did my tour of duty with the Air Force. Why am I going to software development, and why am I going to school now? I've done this for 24 years. I'm 37. I started developing when I was 13. So why go back to school? Well, the reason is I need to know more, because I never know enough. I also have to stay sharp. I can't use my brain and just sit there and watch TV and games and social media and get into arguments on the internet. I love getting into arguments on the internet. This video is not about that. The point of the video is that I have a job to do for myself. I have to keep myself accountable. And as I believe it says, I think it was Aristotle who said that we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is a habit. Excellence is exactly the habit that I've always tried to maintain. Now, I'm not the most powerful person in the world. I'm not the most successful person or the most rich. I have a lot of weirdness. Okay, I'm just like anybody, just like yourself. You're probably weird too. What I'm trying to say here is that I have a job to do today. I have to get this list, this pile, and I have to just get all this stuff into the system so I can process it. I am my own secretary when it comes down to it. So I have to mail off one of these guys. I copied another one. I got another copy is what I meant. I have to mail this off to Western Governor University. And that's not hard. But I also have to get my resume and put that together and give that to them so they can see my relative experience so I can get advancement through the bachelor program. Now, if I were to follow this list and be really disciplined, I'd be crossing out all the previous days and focusing on just today, Tuesday the 26th, and starting with my paper, then my inbox and my follow-ups. And I've been doing that throughout the day, but I'm going to put them aside right now because I know what my focus is. The focus is not necessarily what you think it is. I've been talking about going back to school, and that's part of it. But what it's really coming down to is personal affairs. I have draft one of things that I want to do in my life, recognizing that I'm only 37 and people lament getting old. No, not me. Somebody said one time that getting old is a privilege that is denied to many. So for me, I'm only 37. And yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I like being alive. So that was draft one, and then I got to draft two one day. I won't go into all the details of everything, but guarantee